better, right? Because
Yeah.
one size doesn't fit all in
True.
success, right? And part of what we have to do is take the best, leave the rest of, as far as what we hear and the mentorship we receive, and really create our own personal
Welcome
management
everyone and
philosophy.
Happy New Year. I hope your New Year is off to an amazing start. I hope you have great plans for this year. This year is going to be an epic year, but you have to put the plans in place in order to make that happen. Okay, my name is Sharika Swaby, and I'm a mind reset strategist. And that simply means that I'm a mindset coach. I am the host of this show, Conversations with Sharika. And so, Josh, we've done a show with Josh already, and Josh should be here with company. Ali is not well, but I'm not sure what's going on with Kamal. So if no one else shows up, I'm sure we can get it done. Right, Josh?
We'll make it happen.
Okay, awesome. So Josh is a Silicon Valley mentor and financial expert, right? He specializes in insurance, investment, and mortgages, and how you can make that work for you. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and check out Josh, because he's your guy. And if you need to get your mind right before you go to Josh, then you can check me out. That's my area of specialty. Okay, so it's 2022, and it's a new year, and we want to make sure that at the end of the year, we can say, I did well this year. I fell down a few times, but I got back up and I did some things right. So that's why I have Josh here today for us to talk about setting goals, putting those goals and taking the steps to manifest the life that you are dreaming of. So welcome once more, Josh Payne, to Conversations with Sharika.
Hello, Miss Sharika. I'm excited to be here and talk about one of my favorite topics of goal setting.
Awesome. So Josh, tell the people who have not seen you on here before a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. So, first of all, you did such an amazing job. I'm just so honored to be here with you again. And it's,
Thank you.
What an amazing opportunity we have in this day and age where we're able to connect just like this and really share best practices of not only here, but throughout all of social media, and just in terms of getting better, right? Because one size doesn't fit all in success, right? And part of what we have to do is take the best, leave the rest of, as far as what we hear and the mentorship we receive, and really create our own personal management philosophy.
Yeah.
That's what I've been able to do over the last 13 years. And have been able to teach and foster and grow within our organization in the financial industry and beyond, but predominantly in the financial industry within our organization. And so, I was since I was 5 years old, I had the dream of playing professional baseball. I was an athlete, grew up. Baseball was everything to me. Went to school and played in college. Ended up on a college baseball scholarship, where I had just an incredible career. Ended up Hall of Fame. All conference and one of the best conferences in all of the country, MVP, appeared in Sports Illustrated, all these great statistics, right? And just was at the peak of my career. And then boom, I had a back injury that happened. And who knows what would have happened after that. But the second I had that back injury, I knew it was all over. I knew that as an athlete at that point in time, I was used goods. And when I was devastated, right? And the season finished, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I did what everybody said to do, which was to finish school and get that degree and go get a job that's supposed to provide for my family. But the reality was, Sharika, I was living a life of quiet desperation. And at 31 years old, I had gotten into the golf industry, and I'd run high-end private country clubs for 10 years, surrounded myself with the wealthiest people in the world. When I say that, they were all the big tech founders, right? I'm here in the Silicon Valley. They were all the big tech founders, very high-end private country club. That was where they went to get away. And my job was to make their experience as great as possible. Well, what that enabled me to do was surround myself with a new level of thinking. And at 31 years old, I decided I was going to unlearn everything I'd ever been taught about business, money, success, future, career, and relearn it from people that had the life that I wanted At that point in time, I was able to pivot and get into entrepreneurship. That's how I ended up in the financial industry. And now, for the last 10 years, have been on a crusade to really break down the systemic problem in our country of lack of equal access to the financial education and resources across all economic borders, right? And so through that process, obviously leadership, development, coaching of people across the country to come together on a united vision has been a central part of what we do, and goals being the foundation to all of that. And that's how we ended up where we're at today.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. And something that I wanted to ask you based on what you just said, what were some of the things that you had to unlearn? I'm curious.
Oh man, how much time do we have, right? because look, where I came from, the stories were entirely different. You know, I grew up with certain stories and programming just from the educational system, from teachers, coaches. Look, the reality was I was programmed for 31 years by people that did not live the quality of life that I wanted. And all of a sudden I was surrounded by them, and I'm like, wow, their story is entirely different. You know, the programming around money, the programming around success, the programming around understanding the biggest separators between the wealthy and the middle class, not being the money, but the specialized knowledge that they're taught growing up about how to acquire that money, right? And it was just like this evolution of no wonder why I'm where I'm at and you're where you're at. And so that's where I just said, look, I've got a choice to make. I can continue telling myself the same stories I've been telling myself for the last 31 years that have got me right to where I'm at. If I'm happy where I'm at, that's great. Keep staying on those same stories. But the reality was, Sharika, I wasn't happy where I was at. And I said, well, if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to continue to get what I've always gotten. So I said, forget that. I saw the life they lived. For 10 years, I had to serve people living the life that I wanted, knowing if I stayed where I was at, I'd never have it. I said, the heck with that. I'm going to give my family a shot to have that. And that's where I said the only way that's going to happen is sort of to reprogram. As I see my buddy Ryan, he's absolutely right in the comments. It was a paradigm shift, you know, as far as the programming that I had to just flush it. Now, here's why I was successful at it. Because as an athlete, there was a period of time as an athlete I had to do the same thing. And because I had that success in the past of flushing out the way I knew things and relearning it a new way to help me get to where I wanted to go, I was able to flush it out in business and my knowledge in business, because I knew I had success doing it before. I could do it again here. Now I can write the future path I was headed down in business, and that's what I successfully did.
Okay, so that's amazing, Josh. What were some of the so now you were serving these people 10 years, right? And you wanted to live the life that they were living. What was the first goal that you set?
Well, so here's the deal. There was a defining moment. See, I think in every, and I see there's Ali. Ali, I hope you feel better, brother. I certainly miss you here.
It would have been awesome,
because anytime I can surround myself with that guy, I get better. I grow as a person. And so here's the thing, is that there was a defining moment. I think in every journey, there's a defining moment. And for me, that came when I had one of my members basically tell me, look, Josh, you're great at doing what you do. You're incredible. But if you continue to do it the way you're doing it, you'll never have what we have. And he said, there's 350 members at this country club. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different industries. We all come from different countries. He said, but we all share one thing in common. He said, we all own businesses. There's not one employee that works that's a member at this club. And he said, if you want to progress to have what we have, you've got to find a way to get into business. And he said, look, the biggest separator between the wealthy and the middle class is that are two things. Number one, ownership. The wealthy own things. They own businesses. They own assets that pay them an income. Okay. And he said the second thing is they understand leverage. And he said, by definition, leverage is the ability to get more with less. The ability to get more with less. And he said that really translates into two things. Number one, the ability to multiply yourself to be in more than one place at the same time. He said, how are we here at the country club every day and playing golf, and we still have businesses that are running? We've multiplied ourselves to be in more than one place at the same time. He said, you've got to find a way then to multiply the number of hours you have in the day. He said, if I've got 100 employees, I have 2,400 hours. If you're an employee yourself, Josh, you've got 24 hours in the day. You can't compete with me. And he said, so you've got to figure out a way to get to ownership and then build leverage into your life. At that point in time, I set the goal that I'm no longer going to be an employee. So here's what I realized. I'm either building leverage for my goals and dreams, or I am the leverage for somebody else's goals and dreams. And I wasn't no longer going to stay on that path. I made the paradigm shift in my mindset, and I started to learn what it was going to take. And I just made the decision that I was going to figure out a way to get to where I wanted to go. And I didn't know what it was going to be. And this is what he said to me. He said, Josh, you need to find somebody who's going where you want to go. You can look in their eyes and you know they're going to get there. They're willing to teach you what they did. He said, when you find that person, you unhook your little red wagon on whatever it's hooked on, and you hook it onto them because they're going to drag you along to the top with them. And that's what I set out to do, was to find that next level of mentorship that could teach me how to get to where I wanted to go. And I found that person. It happened to be in the financial industry. Didn't know anything about money, but she said, I'll teach you what I know. You can do this. And you have the ability to have ownership. You have the ability to build massive leverage in your life. And I said, that's what I want. And then I fell in love with the fact that I could be on a crusade to help the average person learn the fundamental skills about money to have a successful financial future, because I realized we had this systemic problem in our country of lack of equal access. I was 31 years old. Nobody ever taught me about money. How is that possible in the richest country in the world? And I didn't know anything about money. And so I realized, man, I can really make a difference in the lives of families in our communities, and I can grow it as big as we possibly can.
And that's the goal.
That is the absolute goal, to be in all 48 continental states within the U.S. in the next 24 months, right? And the only way we can do that, we got to have a big vision, obviously. So that's kind of the big vision goal. And then all we do is we set micro goals that put us on track to hit that, and we continue to massage and improve and tweak and keep those in alignment with the end result. Big goal that we have.
Yeah, I know I probably sound like a scratch record when I say this, but I always say, make the goal so massive. If you know how you're going to get from point A to point B, then the vision is incomplete. It needs work. Make it so big that it's not something that seems fathomable to you. You just have faith and know that you can do it. And that's all you need to do. So let's talk about breaking it down, because you said 24 months to get to 48 states, right? That's a massive task. But you've done it in how many states already?
We're in like 16 to 18. It's hard to keep up with. Every week there seems to be somebody popping up in a new state, but around 16 or 18, give or take the fluctuation of it.
Great. So you've done it in 16 or 18 states, and you know you have a roadmap, and you know where you need to tweak, and you know what you need to improve, and how many additional hands you need. So talk to us about breaking it down to a smaller goal, say on a monthly level. Absolutely.
So I think, as we look at goal setting, there's really three steps that I want to cover that I think are just extremely important. And look, Here's the statistics in the United States, okay? We have 330 million, plus or minus 330 million people in the United States. 3% have written goals. So that's just over 10 million
3%.
people. Okay, only 3%. So statistically, that tells me that people, A, don't understand the importance, and B, they don't know how to create goals, okay? So this three-step process, you know, for somebody like myself that's taught it for so long, sometimes we go, wow, that's, you know, pretty, and we're going to teach the same thing over and over. And listen, repetition is the mother of all learning. And so 3% have written goals, but watch this, only 1% of our country, just over 3 million people in our country, write their goals daily. So I'm going to go through a three-step process that covers kind of macro down to micro, down to writing your goals daily, right? So as I really look at my goals in 4 categories. Now, the end result being 48 states in the next 24 months. But I can't just look at business goals, because if my home life falls apart, then that's going to affect my business goals, right? If my health falls apart, that's going to affect my business goals. So I've got 4 categories I look at my goals in. Number 1 is family and home. Okay. Number 2 is business and leadership. Number 3 is our income goals. And number 4 is our personal and my health goals, right? Now, I'm an athlete, so I'm fanatical about training. I train 6 days a week. I just got back. I jammed back from my session to be here with you today, right? So no matter what, that's a non-negotiable. So that's got to be part of my 4 categories. Now, within each of those 4 categories for the year, I really outline anywhere from 1 to 3 defined goals within each of those categories for the year. I really don't think we can have any more than that. Really, I think it's the magic numbers, maybe 2 within each of those, so you can stay really focused on accomplishing the said goals within each of those categories. So those are the 4 categories, and I really look anywhere from 1 to 3 within each of the categories: family, home, business leadership, income, and then personal health. Okay, now once I have that outlined, then how do I establish those goals within each of those categories? See, I have a great mentor that really helped me with this process. His name's Manny Fernandez, and Manny and I have been friends for a long time, and he gave me this 7-step process, and I have run with it. Every year that I sit down and I really outline my goals, I go through this 7-step process, okay? And so if somebody's taking notes or listening to this is really, man, this is gold right here. Now, I didn't come up with it, but I mastered it, okay? Number 1 is I write my goal out in the present tense, right? Write it out in the present tense. Step 2, I give the goal a deadline, okay? Whether it's annually, semi-annually, whatever the case may be, I give the goal a deadline. The third thing I look at, the third key, is I look at the obstacles that I'm going to possibly need to overcome, right? What might be stopping me from hitting those goals? And I outline that. Number 4, I look at the skills and knowledge that are going to be needed to hit those goals. So if my skills in a certain area of my business are holding me back from hitting the goal, I've got to look at those skills, and I've got to develop my goals, set some goals around improving those skills in order to hit the goal. Number 5, who are the groups of people that I need to work with in order to hit that goal? Are there certain groups of people I need to add to my network in order to accomplish that goal easier? Okay, maybe there's certain networks that lead to growing an agent base or a client base faster, right? So who are the groups of people I need to work with? And then 6 and 7 are the last 2. Number 6 is, what's the plan of action? So for each of the 4 categories where I'm setting 1 to 3 goals, I take through these 7 steps and I create a plan of action, okay? And then most importantly, number 7 is, what are the benefits? What are the benefits? Why do I want to accomplish this goal? What is it that burns deep down inside of me that makes me want to accomplish that goal? Right? So I go through all 7 of those steps for each of the goals in each of the sections. Okay? And what that does is now I've got a crystal clear picture of those 1 to 3 goals within family and home, business leadership, income, personal, and health. Okay? Now, once I have them set, 3%. I'm in the 3% of our country that has written goals. Now, how do I move to the 1%? Now I've got to have a system where I write them daily. And I write them daily, twice per day. In the morning, right when I get up, I go through a goal manifestation process, is what I call it. And then right before I go to bed, I go through a goal manifestation process, right? And here's the reason, okay? So when we write our goals, the reality of life is this. The biggest battle we have every day, in my opinion, is the concept that Napoleon Hill talks about in Outwitting the Devil called drifting. And drifting, he says, is aimlessly walking through life without a definiteness of purpose. And he says that's the devil's playground in the context of how that book was written, in the conversation between Napoleon Hill and the devil. Okay? So how do I minimize? What is a strategy I can do to minimize drifting every day? And the strategy that I've practiced for 13 years is writing my goals in the morning and writing them at night. And so what that does is most people have been to a bowling alley before. And if you've got kids and you go to a bowling alley, what do you do at a bowling alley? You put those bumper rails up so that the ball doesn't go into the gutter. It just bounces off the bumper rails, right? Until it ends up hitting the pins at the end of the bowling alley. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what writing my goals do is they operate as those rails that we bring up to keep me from drifting off into the ditches and falling off track. My goal writing are the bumper rails that keep the ball moving towards the pins, which is the overall goal that I'm working on, okay? Because the reality of life is the second I stop writing my goals in the morning, just by the fact I'm done writing my goals, I'm now drifting. Why? Because I'm not totally focused on my goal. I'm not in the act of writing them. I begin to drift. Now, by the end of the night, when I write my goals down again, it's that course correction back on track. And in the morning, it's the course correction back on track. It's the course correction back on track. And that process is why I believe that gives me a leg up in hitting my goals. Why is that? Why do I know that to be the case? Because statistics tell me only 1% of the population writes their goals daily. So I'm in 3 million. There's only 2,999,999 other people in the United States that write their goals every day. I'm automatically associated with the top 1%. I'm doing what the 1% does. Well, that tells me that I'm moving in a direction that most people aren't. Okay? And here's what happens, and I'll finish with this. So again, get it all out and answer any questions. So one of two things is going to happen when we start writing our goals every morning and every night. One of two things is going to happen. Either, right, because if I state a goal that I'm stating in the present tense, but I haven't achieved it yet, it creates something called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. Now, that's a technical word, but what it essentially means is tension in the mind, in the subconscious mind, between what I say I have and what I actually have. Now, the mind does not like to live in this cognitive dissonance, in this tension. So it's going to do one of two things. Either it's going to force me to raise my activity level up as I continue to write out what I have. It's going to force me to raise my activity level up to the level to accomplish that goal. Or guess what? I'm going to stop writing my goals. Because if I don't raise my activity level, if I keep it down here and I'm not doing what it takes to hit this goal, I'm going to stop writing my goals. Because we're not going to live in this land of, I say I want this, but I'm not doing the work. So what that serves as, Sharika, an immediate alarm to say, you're off track. You stopped writing your goals, which means you're off track to hitting your goals because the mind has said, nope, you're not doing the activity, so we're going to stop writing our goals. And we find an excuse to do so. So it immediately puts people back on track, writing their goals. And if we just use that as the mechanism, it's going to elevate the activity because the mind's going to get rid of that cognitive dissonance somehow. And so if we just stay writing them, then we elevate activity. We sort of speak ourselves into the existence of what we want. and we start moving towards accomplishing those goals. So that's the 3 steps, right? Outline the 4 categories: family, home, business leadership, income, personal health. Identify 1 to 3 goals within that. Take them through the 7-step process to clearly identify those goals. And then I go through my goal manifestation process where I write them in the morning and write them at night every single day, right? And I do it at those hours so that the work I do goes directly into the subconscious mind, because in the morning the conscious mind is still waking up just like we are. And so that information, that focus goes right into the subconscious, and at night the conscious mind is tired like we are, and so that work goes right into the subconscious mind, and it just continues to work towards that end goal that I'm writing down.
Awesome. I love how you break it down. I have 12 categories, but then some of those categories cross over, and you also group a few of them, like personal and health and so on. So and that's almost the exact process that I'm working on for my goal setting workshop. So it's good to see that I'm on point.
Yes, of course you are. You're Sharika, the mindset coach.
Yeah, it's good to see that I'm on point. So definitely that's really great. So so you've set your goals for your different categories, and you know what you're working on each day. You know what's important to you. What are some of the values that you consider when creating your outline for your goals? What are some of the values that you find that are important for you? For each of us, it's going to be different, but there should be some similarities, I assume. So what are some of the values that you consider when you are setting your goals?
Well, I think that what's most important, I think values are going to be, your goals are going to reflect your values naturally, right? So, and each category, right? When I look at my family and my home, my values are going to be different there than they're going to be perhaps as I look at my income, and maybe not the values, but what's important in setting the goal. Like, how am I going to look at what's important? As I look at my family and my home, what are my values? Number 1 is that I'm being a great example to my kids, to my children, that I'm being a great example to my wife, and being a great spouse. And look, it's a constant, never-ending improvement process, right? So it's setting up goals that are in alignment with that. So being a great example for my children, being a loving father, but being a great example at the same time, being a great example and a loving husband to my wife. When I look at business and leadership, right, being a great example and a great representation of our company, and holding values that are honorable, that serve our clients, that serve our team of agents, and being that great leader, that example of a leader that others want to aspire to be. And look, I always have things I got to improve on, right? But that's the nature of, we never arrive. So it's this constant elevation of the bar, but sort of everything's in that those value system, as you put it. As I look at income, right, making sure that when we talk about income, that the only way we're making income is by making somebody else's life better. That the values of service, of serving people, drive our income. So people don't go, all you do is chase income. No, that's not true. I chase service, and the more people I serve, the more money I make. So if my income's not where I want it to be, or I've got to elevate it to accomplish the goals that I want, I've got to focus on serving more people. So how can I solve more problems? How can I serve more people, right? And utilize that as the catalyst to increase our income, so that the alignment is always there in the proper way of service, of everything being driven through service. And I look at personal and health as just, again, treating the values of treating my body as a temple, right? And being a great example. Look, I don't think you can be a great example in business and go home and kick the dog. I don't think I can be a great example in business and not be take care of my body and be a representation of what it looks like to live a healthy lifestyle. I know far too many people, especially here in the Silicon Valley, that spend their health to build their wealth and then spend their wealth to regain their health.
Yeah.
And so I believe you can do both. I don't ever buy into the fact when somebody goes, hey, when you're in the grind, man, you're going to put on X amount of pounds. Bullshit. That's limited thinking. That's limited thinking. Why the hell would you ever want to represent that example as a leader, right? Because look, man, I want to be example in every area of my life. Now I'm human and we can always get better, but that's the end result, right? That's the goal. That's where I want to always be represented. So hopefully that kind of answers your question there as far as values.
Yeah, it did. And I wanted to touch a little bit on what you said at the end there about why do you have to sacrifice your health so you can make money, or sacrifice your family so you can make money. I honestly believe that you can have it all. And setting those goals and having those values is how you're going to have it all, right? So you make sure you have family time set aside, even if you have to calendar it out and set an alarm to know, okay, it's time to play with my son, or it's time to take my daughter for a walk or something. Put it somewhere in there to ensure that you get it in. So when you're rich and you're wealthy and you're there where you want to get to, you have someone to enjoy that with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you get there, that you have the best chance of getting there because you've taken care of yourself. And the reality, though, the reality is this too. And sometimes when I'm working with folks, that opens the door for them to use family as an excuse, or spirituality as an excuse. Look, I don't buy into the concept of balance. If you're going to do something extraordinary in life, you're not going to be balanced. And let me explain why. If you think in the analogy of a tire, right? We all know what a tire looks like, right? When's the only time a tire is in full balance?
When it's let out some hair, I think. When it's not too full or not too too full. When it's not flat or not fully full.
Sure. You're right, that when there's not a flat spot on it. But check it out. The only time a tire is in full balance is when it's on the rack. But guess what? A tire's not meant to be on the rack. It's meant to be where? It's meant to be on a car. So once it goes on the car, there's always a flat spot on the tire. It's the portion that's touching the street. So if you think about that analogy, life is the same way. I'm never going to be fully in balance, because if I'm focused on my kids, I'm out of balance in my work. If I'm focused on my wife, I'm out of balance in my work and the kids. If I'm focused on the business, I'm out of balance with my wife and kids. But I believe we can have abundance in every area. Now, it may not be what the average and ordinary normal's like. You go, well, Josh, I want to have a family meal every day. Okay, great. It might be at 6 a.m. to have breakfast. So we might be putting the kids to bed a little bit earlier, getting them up earlier, so we can all have a breakfast together at 6 a.m. Maybe that's going to be our normal, but see, it takes creativity, because look, doing something extraordinary in life is not going to ever come with it this normalcy as the world would look at it. We're going to have to be creative, but I do believe we can have abundance. And I do believe that if we are that we have the right end result, we can create freedom down the road. And so we can trade off short-term desires for long-term freedom. But I don't buy into as balance, but I do buy into abundance in every area. It just may not be what looks normal to everybody else. And you know what? That's okay, because it's about being normal for us in order to have abundance in every area.
You have to choose your definition. Yeah, you have to choose your definition. Yeah, I like that. Definitely. That's true. And sometimes you have to give up something, right? What matters is that you understand where you're at and you're all together on the destination that you're going, and all of that is working together to get to the same destination, same values and all of that, and then you go from there.
Right. And I think it helps for people to think of it in terms of a trade-off versus give up something. Just a trade-off, just short-term trade-off. Look, we're going to trade this off today for a bigger reward down the road, right? And it keeps that focus on there's a purpose. There's a purpose for it. And again, we can have abundance in every area. We can have it. Is it going to look normal to most people? Probably not. But look, normal is broke. I don't live that way anymore. So I wasn't worried about living normal, and I didn't care about what anybody thought about the way I lived, because I knew where I was going.
Right. And that's what's important, right? You have to set your own standards. You have to set what's normal for you. You have to decide. You cannot go by on other people's idea of what your life should be. It has to be according to you, what works for you, what's inside of your values line, and on what you feel is going to be for your success, not according to anybody else's. You can take hints from other people. You can look at their ideas. You can even try it if it works for you, but don't try to be somebody else when you're on your journey. When you set your goals, define your own thing for you. What works for you.
Yep.
Go there.
And that's where I say, when you get on and you listen to a conversation like this, look, I always say, take the best and leave the rest. Mm-hmm. I understand you're not me, and I'm not Sharika, but you know what? We can share best practices and say, you know what, that would work with what I'm doing. I always say to people, look, if what you're doing is working, great, keep doing it.
Yeah.
For most people, it's not according to what they want, and that's why we have mentors and coaches and such. But look, with whatever you're doing that's working, keep doing it. Just do more of it. But perhaps there's areas we can pull from other people's success, integrate into our personal systems that can then take us to the next level.
Right. Yeah. Perfectly said, Josh. Thank you so much. You're always on point and epic when you come on this show. So thank you for sharing the value and the love and the mission. So I want to ask you, for me, what has been transformational for me is having a morning routine and a nighttime routine as well. So I am going to assume that with your success and the writing of your goals in the morning and the evening, you have a morning routine. Do you want to share that with us?
I am a sick person when it comes to routines. I am a sick person. People look at me, they go, you are a sick person, because it literally is. I mean, I don't know. I always joke and go, I probably step in the same place every single day, right? But here's why, is because I realized as an athlete that my routines as an athlete made me one of the best in the country. And I just said, that's what I know is success. I know discipline, I know work ethic, I know grind, and I know systems and routines. That's what works for me. And so, absolutely, I'm a creature of systems, creature of habits. And so my system works like this. And it's something on my website, I've got a training where I outline my whole goal manifestation process. Here's my calendar every day. This is how sick it gets. Each of those colors are certain activities that take place at a certain time every day, and I do not deviate from it. Okay? So, and everything in my life is calendared out. Now, in the morning when I wake up, my goal process goes like this. I literally get up, I fix my cup of coffee, I sit down, and I write out my goals, okay, which we've already talked about the process of creating those. I write out and say my affirmations. From there, I list out 3 things I'm grateful for. And they must be different every single day. Why? Because I've got to stay creative about what I'm grateful for. Right? And I don't allow myself just to say my wife, my kids, my family, right? No. There's no creativity in that. What am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for? Hey, I've got a working left leg. My left leg works, man. I'm grateful for that. I can taste this beautiful cup of coffee right here. I'm grateful. So it keeps me in that state of gratitude. Okay? So I write my goals, I write and say my affirmations, I write my top 3 things I'm grateful for that day, and then I simply spend 2 minutes journaling. journaling about something that went well the day before. What went well the day before? Now, why do I go through that process? Because it gets my mind right. It gets my mind right of thinking about gratitude and positive things that went on the day before, and it just keeps me going in the right direction. Now, as soon as I'm done doing that, then I pick up whatever book I'm reading. I tend to read 4 or 5 at a time, so whatever one I want to read that morning, and then I spend about 15, 20 minutes reading and studying, and I read books over and over and over. I think this thing of the way we're taught in education to read a book and dump information to our mind, and we think that people are learning, that's crazy. You can't read a book one time and learn anything. You got to study it, right? I remember reading a story about, or hearing a story about Earl Nightingale when he went into or rather Bob Proctor when he went in to study under Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale had a book open. And Bob Proctor asked Earl Nightingale, what are you doing with that book? He goes, I'm studying that page. And he said he would spend weeks studying this page. I don't remember the name of the author. It was some, old author in the book. We spend weeks studying a page, and we think we're going to read a book one time and have anything stick in our mind. And so, again, that was a very pivotal moment for Earl Nightingale. I remember that, or for Bob Proctor, it stood out for me. I went, wow. So ever since then, I've really studied the works of books. So I spend 15, 20 minutes, depending on how much time I have, studying those books. And I read voraciously. I have book clubs I run late at night with people on Zoom and such. So that's what I do in the morning. I write my goals, write my affirmations. 3 things I'm grateful for, journal for 2 minutes, and then I take my time, I read, and then I spend 2 minutes grounding myself. Some people call it meditation. They're like 2 minutes, Josh, I meditate for an hour. I said, great, I do it for 2 minutes. I just ground myself. I just get myself prepared for the day, ready to go.
Take some deep breath.
I'm ready to roll, right?
Yeah.
Then at night, is a little bit different. I come home, I write my goals right before I'm going to bed, and then I just look at 2 things I did well during the day, or that went well during the day, and 2 areas of improvement for the next day. And so that sets me up with, okay, this is what I want to improve on the next day, and these are 2 things that went well. I write those down. I do a little bit more reading. That's usually after my book club that I run, and so I'm primed and ready to do a little bit more study, and then boom, ready to cash in for the night and get up and do it all over again.
Wow, Josh, wow. I wanted to start the year out with the show on a grand note, and I'm sure the people who are on here watching you, and those who will see this afterwards, agree that this was definitely a phenomenal show tonight. Thank you so much, Josh. You have certainly given us the full. If you listen to these people and you never had anything planned, right? But if you never had anything planned, I have a goal setting workshop coming up next week, so you can join me on that. But this is an opportunity to really take a look at what you want to create for yourself, and then start taking action steps. And I promise you, see this morning routine thing, it is phenomenal. And I know for a fact, even before I started making any moves at all in my life, I was just studying and practicing and studying and practicing and studying and practicing. Before I started taking formed my patterns of thinking. So morning routine, epic, everybody. And yeah, so you have heard, I promise you, Josh has laid down some amazing stuff here tonight. Again, thank you, Josh. You're an honest guest. It's always a pleasure to have you. So guys, share this with a friend. Follow me here on Instagram if you're not yet following me, because I promise to keep bringing you amazing people like Josh. And these are not people who you think are, these are normal people. They have normal stories. They come from normal places. And if they can do it, so can you. and that's the purpose of the show. So, Josh, I have a few more questions for you. Not a lot because we're out of time. And okay, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the last time I asked you about your affirmations, because I love affirmations because I've seen them transform things in my life to great, great degrees in terms of my personal well-being and reaction and mindset. So I love affirmations. So I want you to share 5 or 6 affirmations around the topic goal setting that you practice on a daily basis.
Sure. So again, let me just say this as you went through, I'm a student first. First and foremost, I'm a student. I just crave ways to get better, right? And so this process I've gone through, I've taught for a long time. It's what I eat, sleep, and breathe. I'll go through my affirmations because I've been doing them for so long. I take some out when I'm doing, perhaps I've grown in a certain area, but I need to work in another area. I just kind of switch my affirmations in and out as need be. But right now, my affirmations are like, I'm a champion. I'm a leader. I write a certain amount of production personally per month, right? Now I'm off track. Daggone it. What are they? I'm a champion. I'm a leader. I'm a beast. I train beasts, right? Flows to me in avalanches of abundance. I attract wealth and abundance. Money flows to me easily and frequently. I'm a crusader. I'm a dreamer. I help others dream. I'm a great storyteller. I mean, those are my affirmations, right? So those are up and down the list, and I just write those out every day, and those all have a purpose. My affirmations have a purpose because they're helping me realize or manifest certain things in my life and in my mind, right? Of who I am or who I am becoming, right? So my affirmations serve the purpose to help me grow into who I want to be and who I am becoming.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I've seen what affirmations can do. You have been saying them for years, so the fact that you continue to say them means that you have seen what they can do too. Would you mind sharing with us 2 areas where you've seen the results of your affirmations?
Yeah, so let's just talk about our growth, right? So we've grown from 1 state to 16 or 18 states in the United States, right? That's an obvious, a real obvious for us, a real obvious example of our growth, and obviously the growth is to go all the way to 48 states. So my affirmations are driven to help that growth. And then I look at the people I attract into my business, right? I am a beast. I train beasts, right? So by telling myself that I'm attracting the people I want, I've identified the prototype of what I want, and I look at the people that are surrounding me now, and I'm like, wow, I'm attracting people that are like me. And watch out, because as we start to grow a core unit of leadership that's like me, now in terms of their desires and their vision and their servant, leadership, now we can move mountains. So those will be the 2 areas: the growth of the business, and then the people that are surrounding me in business are now like me, right? So and that's a result of the fact that I identified what I wanted, and then I continued to make it as if it was already happening, and that's what manifests into life.
Awesome, Josh. Again, I have to keep saying thank you because even though I know how to set goals and all of that, I still learned a lot today, right? And you have to be a student of life in order to make it to where you want to get to. So again, guys, if you're not following me yet, please feel free to do so because every week
right now
we post about identity. We have so much. We have topics right up to image. What kind of image you need to have? How your image impacts your business. Even that we're going to be talking about on this show, because I really believe that anybody can do this, right? Once you want to, and if you have just a tiny bit of an idea, a dream or a vision, then you want to. You just don't know how. And my mission is to give you hints and clues and to help you change your mindset around what you can do for yourself and other people too, because Josh has done it for himself. And his mission is to, even though it's going to help him get even further, his mission is to help other people to get there as well. So you've heard it from him. Get yourself set up for an epic 2022.
Yes.
Because you have to declare it to make it happen, all right? And guys, again, if you are interested in that goal setting workshop, the link is in my Instagram. I've also published my book. It's on Amazon for sale. It's called An Introduction to Freedom. And that book, too, can help you up-level your mindset. A matter of fact, that's the purpose of the book. It can help you heal trauma, pain, all of that. It's going to help you to do get rid of all of it. It's a 30-day practice. And my suggestion is, if you purchase the book, do it again, not just 30 days, do it up at least 90 days before you put it down, right? And it's guaranteed to change something in your life, because it includes a lot of the things that Josh spoke about in his morning routine, which I think is very, very, very important. So you can, the link, if you go to my link tree, you'll see that also in my bio. So pick up a copy or give it to a friend who you know needs to put a foot out there. So thank you so much again.
Three action steps, right? They got to follow Sharika. You got to sign up for her goal setting course, and you got to go get that book off of Amazon right there.
Yes.
That's the great 3 action steps leaving today.
Thank you so much for highlighting that, Josh. And do you have any final words for the listeners, watchers?
You know what? 2022 is going to be the greatest year of our lives. You know why? Because we made a decision that it's going to be the greatest year of our lives. And you become what you think about, right? We become what we think about. And figure out what you want, what it's going to be for you, write it down, focus on it, go do it, and man, let's go make 2022 epic.
Yeah, epic 2022. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for the love and the support. Thank you for being here. Come back next week. We have another fabulous guest for you. And Josh, thank you so much again for taking the time and to come out here and to share with the people. I truly appreciate it. And as usual, I'll share the video with you once I've downloaded it and so on.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much, and see you next time, everyone.
Absolutely. Bye. Hip, hip, let it rip. Let's go.
Epic 2022. Bye, Josh.
Bye-bye.